a two-sided approach, you know. Raise money to clean up the street part of it. Maybe, I don't know what Paul thought he was going to do, the preacher. I don't know if he thought he was going to buy out the porn theaters. I don't know what he thought he was going to do. But in any case, we raised $1 million. I have no idea what happened to the $1 million. In any case, in this church, there were 2 or 3 musical groups. The top group, Manhattan Project, sweet vocals. My own bass player from my gospel group in California had been hired to come and play bass in that main group, but he was also playing bass in this Big Apple Court. And when I came to New York, they thought, well, let's cut down his workload. And Ash is perfectly fine as a bass player. We'll take him. And so we shared equipment. I didn't have a bass. I didn't have a bass amp. But we shared equipment until somebody stole the bass. He blamed me for having stolen the bass. I didn't steal the bass. I stole a lot of other stuff, but I didn't steal the bass. I want you standing by my side. Tell me to face the rising tide. Be whatever you want to be, but please want you to ride with me. Welcome back to Ashford Gordon from the beginning. I thank you for joining me this week as we take a look back to 1975, when the Manhattan Church of the Nazarene in New York City, New York, mounted a fundraising campaign to clean up Times Square, which at the time had deteriorated into 20 blocks of porn theaters, strip clubs, and streetwalkers. I was hired to manage public relations for the campaign, dubbed the I Care campaign. To provide context, let me turn the clock back to 1970, which found me straight out of college, founding some and supervising other private Christian drug treatment facilities, including Ventura, Ojai, and Santa Barbara. At a particularly intense period of growth, the organization initiated a massive fundraising program and, needing guidance, hired a public relations consultant, one Hubert S. Voigt, an octogenarian who had been a Hollywood film studio veteran and had been Claudette Colbert's personal publicity representative. Hubert Voigt took me under his wing and taught me over 10 painstaking months how to design, implement, publicize, and consummate a successful fundraiser. He taught me how to get free publicity by writing human interest stories about our drug treatment efforts, submitting them to newspapers along with photos that I took to accompany the articles, and ultimately getting byline and photo credit in 3 newspapers in the state of California for 5 such submissions. The result of that campaign was $150,000 raised over the 10 months. The Manhattan Church of the Nazarene received a referral regarding my experience in public relations and hired me, paying to move me from California to New York City and covering my housing costs in addition to my salary for the duration of the campaign. In making the move to New York City, the opportunity to grow as a musician was not lost on me, and I shortly picked up a gig as the bass player for a contemporary gospel group, the Big Apple Court. This, coupled with my day job running the publicity for the fundraising campaign, made the winter of 1975 into 1976 a scintillating period of growth for me, as the result was $1 million raised during our final event, the heavily televised I Care Telethon. In 1976, with the work on the telethon ended, I moved to upstate New York, near Newburgh, and took a job managing Jack in the Box restaurants and began working solo gigs outside Woodstock and Kingston, New York, principally Pearl's Place in Stone Ridge, New York. I had the good fortune to discover a neighbor in my apartment building was a guitarist, the late Artie Odell, who would become a writing partner for nearly 40 years, and we began a rock band to work upstate New York, the Rainbow Fleet. In 1980, I founded the reggae-influenced band Jamal in Santa Cruz, which was well received and garnered regular work. The aforementioned Artie Odell made a major contribution to my overall development as a musician in general and as a guitarist more specifically. When we met in 1976, I had not discovered reggae and the great Bob Marley yet. Indeed, all of my early development on guitar was made in a vacuum. Early on, I set with my guitar a book of chord charts for both Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix songs, and my turntable with their albums queued up, playing along for up to 8 hours at a time until I could physically play no more. Then after a period, I developed the calluses you need to play on steel strings for any extended period of time. Thus, it took more than 2 years to get conversant enough on the instrument to play with anyone other than myself. Artie and I spent many a smoke-filled evening critically listening to his rather extensive vinyl reggae collection, deconstructing the rhythms employed and the downstroke techniques prominent in the music. Then we discovered as we rehearsed our group that our guitar tones were curiously well matched, with me on the Fender Stratocaster, this baby right here, and Artie on the Gibson Les Paul. So once back in Santa Cruz, my new group, Jamal, naturally took on a contemporary reggae direction after the New York experience with Artie Odell and the Rainbow Fleet. Jamal worked steadily in 1981 into 1982, and then the world ended for nearly 5 days in Santa Cruz due to the unanticipated arrival of the El Nino storm of 1982, which knocked out roads, bridges, and electricity, locking us down in our homes for the duration. With nothing to do and no place to go, I learned the game of pinochle, of all things, and of course wrote a song about the disaster, Capricorn Day. Weathering a storm in Santa Cruz, where everyone knows everyone, at least on Pleasure Point, is a weird experience, as the various characters in the song actually were present and presented themselves during the event when we all found ourselves sitting at the only open restaurant, El Torito in Capitola, as they had gas to fire their grills, even without electricity. So there they were, Jim Byberg, the Doubleberg, his bunny girl, Gretchen, Surf Boys, Harry and Huck, Spider, and Roger Rocket, all wolfing down enchiladas and margaritas like there was no tomorrow, and I just had to record it. By the time the storm waters had receded, I had Capricorn Day, the song, complete, and Let the Child Live, nearly complete. I present to you here Capricorn Day, featuring Gabriel Gordon on bass and backing vocal, as well as first guitar, David Goodstein on drums, and myself on vocal and second guitar. This will be followed by Gotta Be a Reason, a regular on the Jamal set list, featuring Chris the Rock Rakusic on keyboard, DC Kramer on bass, Dean Giles on drums, and yours truly on vocals and guitar.
Surf boys wearing buckets to their butts, and the Doubleberg watched like a hawk. He squawked and squawked long through the night. Every bunny girl talked and talked to a man, but still no water they rose. We sat close through the curve. Oh yeah, back on your Capricorn Day. I have been wrong before. I could be wrong today. All of the sounds out on the street long about some Capricorn. Capricorn, hey. Capricorn, Capricorn on the Monterey Bay. Funny, Mama Bell could not hear our call, and then the mountains follow the earth into our home. And the devil burger watched like a hawk. He squawked and squawked long through the night. Every bunny girl talked and talked to a man, but still the waters they rose. We sat close through the cold. Oh yeah, back on your Capricorn day. I have been wrong before. I could be wrong today. All of the sounds out on the street, long, 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 yeah. No, so subtle they say. It's clean up time. We can change our mind. From here and out, we ain't gonna hear no more that is mine. I'm talking about some Capricorn. Capricorn day. I'm talking Capricorn, Capricorn on the Monterey Bay. Ooh, yeah. Capricorn day. There's got to be a reason for all that's going down. Though it's not apparent, you carry purpose by the pound. You that chasing daydreams, your mind is like a sea. Perfect order. Let your mission set you free. You know, apply the meaning. I know, apply the meaning. I know, apply the meaning. You know, I know, apply the meaning. There's got to be a reason to chase that woman fair. Don't box her like a sandwich to eat without a care. Take one part of kindness and mix with gentle ease. Be willing to be open. You'll discover mystery. You know, apply the meaning. I know, apply the meaning. You know, apply the meaning. You know, I know, apply the meaning. come give your attention to every move we make. Even as you feel now, there's much more magic we can take. You know, apply the meaning. I know, apply the meaning. You know, apply the meaning. You know, I know, apply the meaning. Reasons that you feel.
Art always results when there is conflict and trouble. I don't know why that is, but it is. Friction produces energy, and as my late former bandmate Jackie Lomax says in his song Blues in the Blood, I don't know if it's bad or if it's good. I'm kind of stuck with it. I got the blues in the blood. Looking forward to next week's episode, we'll review a major development in my career, precipitated by a new day job that caused me to move my family to Ventura, California to take that job. We'll also explore my relationship with Louisiana Guitar Red and the various ways he influenced my playing, presentation, lyric imagery, and professional performance. Thank you again for being with me, and I'll see you next week for another Ashford Gordon Throwback Thursday. Bye.